Welcome to the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Gruely True Sports Network. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my two esteemed co-hosts. First up, a member of the 1981 national champion Indiana Hoosiers and a two-time big-time champion, correct? Big Ten champion, Steve Risley.
Big Ten champion.
Yeah, it was just big time when you won it. It was a lot more important when you did it.
Yep. Well, I know it's no different than winning a Big Ten anytime is important. But yes, that was part of the accomplishments we achieved as a team.
And of course, we have Collin Hartman, also a Big Ten champion. How you doing, Collin?
It could be a little better. But I'm doing all right. Still breathing.
All right. Indiana's now lost 3 straight games, dropped to 12-5. I can't even speak proper English after having to sit through that for 2 hours. Nebraska 66, Indiana 51. Indiana, who used to be one of the best shooting teams in the country, is no longer that, I don't think, as they shot 36%.
Well, they had one bad shooting game.
I think the last couple games weren't very good, Steve.
Well, they were 46, 47% last game.
Were they the last game? It must have been the game before that then.
But I'll address that later on in the show.
I was hoping you would, because I am so waiting for your opinion on everything. Collin, we'll start with you, though, because I like to be held in suspense. What's your take of what we just saw?
Just really got outmanned. We came out very soft, came out very slow, which is very frustrating to see, obviously. We dug ourselves the hole, and the whole time I was like, okay, maybe we'll come back. You know, we switched back to our old ways, which we don't normally have to do necessarily at home. Not to that extent. We were down, 25-9 or at some point or something like that. And
we were down 18. I don't even remember what the hell it was. And defensively, I didn't think we were that god-awful, at least
we
the first
weren't.
half.
I think the last 10
minutes, the last 10 minutes, I think we regressed a lot, though, defensively.
Atrocious. Yeah, we did, and there's a lot of things that go into that. But overall, I think that we got outmanned, and Nebraska had a great game plan for us tonight, which was make us make threes and make tough twos, and we didn't. And we just didn't play well and started out slow and dug ourselves a hole that we couldn't get out of.
Yeah, and Steve, what's your take?
Well, like Collin said, the first note I wrote down while watching the game was back to slow starts. I put in parentheses, very encouraged. Like, okay, we're back to our old ways. We're going to just start slow and go back and win this game. But,
didn't happen.
This team just so much lacks intensity and aggressiveness. It just doesn't have it. There's no intensity displayed on the floor. There's no attack aggressiveness. They're passive on the floor. They're soft, basically. They don't take it, get up into somebody's face and play tough, hard defense. They slough off everything. We give them too many easy threes because we're not up in somebody's face, get up in their grill. Juwan's fighting the post by himself as much as he can, and they're just getting smart and dropping guys into the post. And, here's Smith's guy under the bucket, and Juwan's trying to go 2-on-1 with 2 fouls, and Smith's out at the free throw line or out at the base, halfway off the bait line going, where's my man? Where's my man? It's like, and then we get Juwan into foul trouble through no fault of his own, and then we set him, and then we put Pfister in, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, because he's soft, as I said before. And the other thing is this. Since he's soft, Clifton Moore doesn't get to play a lot. But when he does play, Collin, he seems like he does bring a little bit of energy, and he does some good things.
Well, the thing about Cliff is he still has to come into his own coordination-wise and physicality-wise, just his mindset. But in practices last year and workouts and everything like that, he goes hard. He's going to try his best. He's going to mess up. He's still young. He's going to make mistakes. He's not near ready to play at the top level. But at this point, I really don't care. As long as we get somebody who's going to go at it, whether it's right or wrong, but they're going to go 100 miles per hour, I don't care. That's one of the things that we are lacking is consistent intensity. We'll have times where we'll get hot or whatever and things will start flowing well. But we have to have that intensity consistently. And I think that a guy like Cliff, who's hungry for minutes and knows he's not guaranteed anything, he does no clue when he's going to see the floor. He takes advantage and tries to play his hardest when he gets out there on the floor. And I think that even the starters need to, be aware of that they just kind of got comfortable. And I think that they are in a comfortable spot because they don't think they're losing any playing time just because they're the best players on the team.
So let me ask you this, Steve. If this is your team and you're the coach, what would you do?
When's the next game?
It's Purdue at Purdue. I think Saturday or Sunday.
When?
I think it's Sunday.
And today's Monday. It'd be a week of hell of practice. I would run them into the ground. I would punish them. I mean, they would be physical. There'd be blockout drills. There'd be loose ball drills. There'd be intensity. Everything would be intensity. And I would run them. I'd give them, you get 30 seconds, get a drink of water, get to the next drill. Go. Let's go now. Come on, move. Let's go. And everything would be physical. If I hurt somebody, that's just the nature of the beast. But until you put some intensity and some anger into this basketball team, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I would work them very hard. I would really this is early enough in the season. They can recover from it. You got a week now till we play Purdue. You can give them 3 days of really gutty gut check practices. Bring them in there and just drill them and just no scrimmaging. This is not going to be. I walk into practice and guys, practice this week is not going to be fun. Get ready, because what I'm watching on the court is no fun. And if we're not going to have any fun watching the court, we're not going to have any fun in practice. That was night. You're going to pay for this. I mean, I'm going to teach you how to be intense. And this team has no intensity, and they're passive. They do not play at 100% all the time. Langford, he shows up when it's too late.
Yeah.
He shows up when it's too late. And then at 4 minutes to go, he starts taking the ball to the hole. He starts going hard. He gets fouled on the foul line. He ends up shooting 11 free throws. I'd probably 6 or 7 of those came in the last 4 minutes of the game. And where is that the entire 40 minutes? This guy's supposed to be all-world, all-American. Wouldn't you want to be proud of yourself and play like that the entire game?
Well, would that have something to do with... There's no reason
Langford shouldn't be ordered.
Would that have something to do with being a stud in high school? And if you watch these high school games, he could do that. And his team would win.
Yeah, well...
And it's just kind of something that's ingrained in him that he thinks he can turn it on. And at this level, against Nebraska, it doesn't work that way. And
Mikey doesn't work that way against any team in the Big Ten.
No, maybe Illinois for a little bit.
I don't care if it's Nebraska or not.
Yeah, but the thing is this. That's the way it's worked for 12 of these wins. But as we've talked, none of these wins have been tough road games.
All the teams that we will lose to this year, are going to be the teams that are more intense than us and want it worse.
Yeah, my question is this, though, right now, there's not that many teams in the Big Ten less intense than Indiana. And if you look at this schedule,
that's why I the more that I'm seeing is the more that I'm like, this is our main problem, is our lack of intensity.
I'm going to tell you what, next 3 games are at Purdue, at Northwestern, and Michigan at home. Dude, we're looking at 3 more losses real quick.
And at Rutgers, we should be. At Rutgers, Ohio State
and then at
lost
Rutgers,
there.
And then at Michigan State.
And then
I don't know when we'll win another game.
Yeah.
Iowa's now ranked in the top 25. Maybe Ohio State at home back in February 10th. That may be the next winnable game for this basketball team. The way they're playing
tonight. They don't get their intensity up.
Yeah, well, I mean, at Purdue, or Collin, you played there. You know what the intensity level is.
I don't care if you have a great team or not. That is a hard place to win.
As good as basketball teams we had, we never won at Mackey Arena. I never won a game on Mackey Arena. And they never won in Bloomington. Never. At Northwestern, that's their best opportunity because that's about 50-50 in a crowd because there's a lot of Indiana people up there. Michigan at home, they're undefeated, baby. You think they're going to come in here and lay down for us?
I mean, when you played Northwestern and Northwestern last year, Collin, was it still about a 50-50 or were there more Northwestern fans?
There was just it was probably 60-40. But they were still a good.
That was right.
They're still
Northwestern terrible
they're
team.
still a good amount.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's like it was when you
Right.
played Steve, because
Good point,
you're
Mike.
still going to get a bigger
Well,
Northwestern crowd.
I'm not
Yeah,
kidding. My
I'll tell you
first
the other-
2 or 3 years, it was majority IU fans.
Yeah, but then they got good.
Then they got good.
They got
Yeah.
good.
Then the people that actually went to school there wanted to
you
see the
start
game.
playing
Then they
well,
got- then
people will come.
Colin, then they got Bryant McIntosh and his dad, and they got good.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
here's-
It must be an inside joke, but
It's an
I
inside
apologize
joke,
to
yeah.
the entire McIntosh family for the shot Steve just took at you guys.
No, you don't need to. Don't worry. It's an inside joke known by pretty much everybody that ever played basketball, AAU basketball in Indiana. So,
Yeah. All right.
and I actually coached with him for a while. So, here's my other concern too: is we have guys not scoring. We have guys not even looking to score. I mean, here's the breakdown: Morgan, 8 of 15 for 17 points. Smith, 2 of 7. And I think both of those came early in the game on dunks, 5 points. Al Durham, 0 for 1, 0 points. Green, 1 for 6, 3 points. Langford, 5 for 14, 18 points. 8 of those 18 points on free throws. Bench total, 8 points off the bench.
Well, let's
You
put it
guys,
like
if
this.
we don't have people, we can't win games if we don't have people looking to score.
Well, do you think that
We're not
maybe
even-
we've come to the point where everybody is just assuming Romeo and Juwan's going to do it? Because if you look at the five starters, the 5 starters attempted 43 shots. Morgan and Langford attempted 29 of those.
Yeah. And what's the old adage, Mike? You know, you're a coach. The word assume, you break it down 3 words. You assume, you make an ass out of you and me, you know.
Yeah.
Don't assume anything here. Everybody should be looking to take the ball to the hole and scoring. But see, that's where the lack of attention, your aggressiveness comes from. There's just nobody on. I mean, I love McRoberts' hustle, I do, but I've not seen him even look at a basket for a shot anymore. I mean, he just wanders around out there hustling his butt off, and he dives on the floor for some dramatically pretty loose balls. But what else is he contributing? What's his rebound total, McRoberts? So he had 3 rebounds. He's the 3rd, 4th leading rebounder on the team. Good for him.
Hell, that's tied for first.
Fissner, huh?
Okay, I looked at the wrong
Morgan
stat
had-
line. He also had 3 steals, too.
Yeah.
So I'll give
Steals.
McRoberts this.
Yeah, okay.
Between McRoberts
No, I give him
and
defensive
Pfister,
effort. Yeah, is that?
I mean, I'm going to put
right.
McRoberts in the game. The thing is this. Pfister is soft. I've said it for a month now, and I don't know why he comes in the game. Because I also know the old adage is you're only as strong as your weakest link. And, I mean, the key play to this game was I think Indiana had it cut to like 6 right at the end of the half.
They had a 4. They had a 4 at one time, didn't they?
Yeah, but what I'm talking is the last 5 seconds, that last play where the guy from Nebraska just runs past Pfister, dunks the ball, and it goes from being a 6-point game to, I think, an 8-point game or 7 to 9.
Yeah, I remember
set
that play.
the
I marked
tone.
that play down, yeah.
Because if you remember, Indiana-Maryland, Indiana didn't have a dramatic ending to that first half. They'd gotten back in the game at 8, but that 8 felt different than this 8 because Pfister let this guy just manhandle him. And I sent a text to you guys. It was men against boys. Nebraska has one of the oldest teams in college basketball. I mean, it was basically men against boys. You had 22-year-old men.
Well, Fissner's a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, but it doesn't
That's the
matter
crazy
because
part about it.
if you're soft, it doesn't matter if you're 5 or if you're 50. You're still soft.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
and
But
I can tell you this: I don't think running Pfitzner into a wall for the next 3 days is going to make him tough.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm sorry.
think that I don't think it'll make them tough. I think it will weed out and make the people who it will spark a fire underneath. It will make those people step up if they're there.
Well,
I'm not saying it'll make people tough.
if I was coaching a team, Fitzner's already weeded himself out. He did it about a month ago. And when you continue to allow, when you allow people like that on your team, you don't win invariably.
Well, unfortunately, at this point in time, he has no choice. It's a body to put on the court right now.
I don't buy that because I watched Clifton Moore scored 5 points in half as much time. And
right.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't care. I'd rather play with 4 than have somebody out there that's not willing to put his body on the line.
I don't think that's an option.
Right. I don't think
enough.
It's an option.
If you watch the movie Hoosiers, Gene Hackman won the 52 championship, and the turning point of that season, I think, is when the fifth kid, the church kid, he gets a personal foul or something. He does something he's not supposed to do, and then you get somebody foul out, and Gene Hackman says, "My 4 are on the floor." That's the way this should roll, because then that kid then became an integral part to the 1952 Hickory Huskers.
Thanks for the history lesson there, Mike.
You're welcome.
I was watching. We have nobody crashing the offensive boards. We have nobody crashing the offensive boards at all. We had 9 offensive rebounds. Morgan had 5 of those. Langford had 1. Moore had 1. Visser had 1. McRoberts had 2 and immediately just threw the ball outside rather than just barrel his chest into somebody and go back up and put it back up. Finnessy had 2, but he's going to get swatted because he's so short if he tries to put it back up in there. Fitzgerald had none. He had 2 defensive rebounds. I'm sorry. And McRoberts only had 1 offensive rebound, not 2. I was reading it. So we have one guy working the offensive board ball. I mean, second chance points are what make or break you and what you follow. I remember watching a couple possessions. My wife even said, "We have nobody rebounding." And there's 5 red jerseys under the bucket, and all of our guys are jogging back down the court, not even sprinting down the court. I mean, how many times are we getting beat back down the court where we're not necessarily, getting blown by? We're just out of position. We're not standing in our position where we know they're going to start their offense from, and we're not there ready to defend. We're kind of jogging back a half a step with them or behind them and then trying to get in a position to defend. You got to be set to play defense right. And you've got to get into position. I mean, this team's it's not playing smart. It's not playing. Colin, let me ask you a question. Has this team regressed?
In what respect? Overall? Or?
I mean, here's, okay, let me just paraphrase. Here's what I think. This is the crap I don't like about the preseason crappy schedules. We get a false sense of security. Oh, we're blowing everybody out. Yeah, we lose to Duke. We expect we're going to lose to Duke. Yeah, we lose a heartbreaker in Arkansas with a tip that we could have made. But we drilled everybody else. We're playing, second tier, third, fourth tier teams.
Remember this: Nebraska plays a weaker schedule than Indiana does.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm not worried about Nebraska. I'm worried about Indiana. So what they do, I'm not worried about them at this point in time. I'm worried about what we're doing. Because this isn't the Nebraska Basketball Weekly show. It's the Indiana
Basketball Weekly show. Yeah, but you can be a smart-ass like that, but when you realize the fact that this team just out-toughed us, played the way you wanted and played an even easier schedule, tells me this.
That's my point. Because we don't play a tough enough preseason schedule. We don't battle enough in the preseason. We don't get our feet wet. We don't get some blood on our uniforms. We cakewalk through everything. And then we get into the Big Ten. And guess what? Every game, Colin, if I'm wrong, slap me down. Every game, home and away in the Big Ten, is a dogfight. I don't care who you're playing, who or where you're playing them.
And it's a dogfight. We played 5 Big Ten games, and we still play like this. So I don't know that playing a tougher earlier season schedule matters or not, because toughness comes no matter who you play. I think.
What's going to – go ahead, Colin. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is the thing. When you watch a team like Nebraska play an inferior opponent, they usually dominate them, put their foot on their throat, and beat them. Has Indiana even played a game where they haven't been behind at least at one point early in the game? I mean, there's a killer instinct with Nebraska that Indiana lacks, and it has nothing to do with who you've played and all this. Toughness comes from inside of you. And Nebraska has recruited tougher players than what Indiana has. And what I see here, Colin, is this. When Romeo Langford is playing well, everybody else has confidence. When Romeo isn't playing well, and I don't think he did tonight, I think the rest of these guys kind of have an old crap moment. And I think they derive their confidence a lot from the way Romeo's playing. And when Romeo's playing well, everybody's attacking, everybody feels good. But when Romeo's a little bit off, everybody else is.
All right, and that's 2 points to this comment. One is, I'm gonna kind of get it out of the way. This team is really good when it's comfortable.
Yeah, they're front runners.
And they're good and they're really good, like you said, when Romeo's doing well or Juwan's getting 35 or whatever, because we have somebody scoring. The ball goes in, guys feel better, you get a little bit more energy on defense, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The thing that bothers me the most is that, and as a player, it's a mentality thing for this team. It is I don't care if we win or lose, this team is going to regret coming in here and playing us. They will be dog-tired leaving this arena, and we are going to play our hardest, and we're going to get rid of the nonchalant, I'm on TV, so I'm going to act cool. The nonchalantness is the thing that drives me insane. And that's really, that comes from the players. And it comes from Juwan, and it comes from those seniors, the older guys that have been there, to really, at this point in the season, because at the beginning of the season it could have come from anybody, but at this point in the season it has to come from the older guys, because the younger guys, they haven't seen it ever. They haven't seen the intensity. They haven't been around older guys that have had that intensity and had that sense of urgency to climb up in somebody and change their mindset and like, look, we have to turn this on because we've already wasted X amount of time. We've wasted X amount of games. Because, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, they get another season. They have another opportunity. But every game matters for the seniors right now. And I know as a senior, I hated going out the way I did. And so that's just something that you have to change at this point in time as a senior, because the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors don't know what it's like to go season after season after season and then be like, oh, crap, this is it. And I'm not saying this is the end of the season, but it's going to go by faster than they think. Yeah. And it's a mindset thing, and they need to flip that switch because it's going to end. And they have all the talent in the world. They have the talent. They have the athleticism. They can write their own story, but it's a matter of those guys making that decision in the locker room without the coaches. Coaches don't even at this point, it's not up to Coach Miller. He can drive them in the ground. He can run them. He can push them. He can play who he wants to play. But wins and losses at this point in time are going to come down to intensity, and that comes from the players. And that's the main thing that I see right now, that one of those guys has to step up and be an absolute beast in the next couple practices, be chippy, get in some fights. I don't care in practice. Challenge people to rise above and be at a new level. You get 2 or 3 guys to start going in a pack and being that dog in practice and challenging people and fighting people. People are either going to fall off or they're going to get in line. And so that's what needs to happen in this next week.
Here's the difference between your culture and my culture. Knight would manufacture that intensity. He wouldn't say, don't tell me it's not up to Miller. It's Miller's program. He needs to manufacture that intensity and teach it to those people. That's what coaches get paid the big bucks to do. Knight had us living in that intent. That's why people thought we were getting punished and killed. Our practices were the most intense things I did in my entire life for 4 years. I've never done anything that intense again in my life. Every practice. We used to say games were a vacation because games were not as intense as practice was. But Knight, if he didn't feel that intensity was there with us, he just manufactured it. And he made us live in it until we finally ingrained it back into ourselves. I feel like this team's not being taught. It's like it's being coached.
Well,
right now, this is a young team that needs to be taught. There's a big difference between teaching and coaching. This team is not being taught the fundamentals. They're not. I don't think this team lives in an intense world. I was looking at the bench one time, and I saw somebody get sat down, and I'm looking down the end of the bench. There's 2 guys in warm-ups laughing and carrying on. They're getting their freaking asses handed to them by Nebraska. And I saw 2, I don't know who they were. They were just 2 guys in uniform down there chuckling with each other. If that had happened on my bench, You just been told to go to the locker room, take your uniform off, and go home. And I kid you not, that's what would have happened.
Yeah, and I could say this.
Intensity's got to be, if it's not going to come naturally, you have to manufacture
it. As a coach.
Mike, you're a coach. Am I right or wrong?
I can tell you this. You will never see one of my teams that is not intense, because if they're not, I'll make sure they are. And if I don't do that, I'm not doing my job. And it may be I'm, close to Steve's age. It just may be we're old shits and look at it in different ways.
Right.
But the worst thing that can be said about you as an athlete or a team is that you're soft. And I mean, hell, we played, I know this isn't basketball, but we played an arena football game against Port Huron one year. I was in Evansville, Indiana, and the winner was going to go to the playoffs. And their guy gets on ESPN radio, their coach, and says that my team is soft. Now, by the time that game's over, we've run the ball down their throat in an arena football game where everybody else runs. Where everybody else throws all the time. But we lined up, and we threw the ball 4 times the whole game. We beat them 28-7 in the most boring arena game you've ever seen. And at the end of the game, with about a minute left, 3 of my guys got one of their guys along the boards, just beat the hell out of him. And we had a 10-minute brawl after that. Because all week, I played this over the intercom in our arena while we were practicing. All week, it was on a loop, him saying how soft we were. And the thing is, you have to be able to create intensity as a coach. Because I think the thing that separates a great coach from a good coach from a bad coach is the ability to get your guys at a crazy level where they just want to go out and crush somebody. And I don't think that matters if it's basketball or if it's football or if it's soccer.
Right.
I mean, the devil sport, even soccer. You have to be the most intense person there, because in the end, what this all comes down to, the reason guys like Knight, Wooden, Krzyzewski, the reason they won is because they wouldn't settle for anything less. It's why Krzyzewski to this day is running around at 70 years old, and I guarantee you his practices are violent. I brought up Chris Mack and the way he ran his practices at Xavier. Did anybody notice what they did at North Carolina over the weekend? I mean, and that's because they went out, and North Carolina is a team that has all the talent in the world, just like Indiana does. But they don't always come to play. Louisville always comes to play, and Louisville went down there and jumped their ass and just beat them into the ground. And that's not a product of players. It's a product of Chris Mack. And Chris Mack came into a situation where very few of those guys are his recruits. But he turned them into that kind of team. And if you watch them last year, they weren't that kind of team.
I can tell you a couple stories. This happens to us more than one occasion in my culture, in my years down there. We got done with a game like this. Knight came in and ripped us a new butthole. We all went in and showered, got ready to go home, dress up. We came back out. You know what was hanging in our locker room? In our lockers? Our practice gear. We went out and practiced after the game.
Yeah, but nowadays, if you did that, the coach would probably be fired for being abusive to the players.
Yeah, on more than one occasion, we went in. We all went in the shower. We were like, we got ripped in the locker room. Knight, did his thing, did his motivational thing, and we go in the shower, come back out. And in our lockers is hanging our practice bags, because I'm sure you put all your practice gear in a bag and then you send it into the laundry, right, Collin? Laundry cleans it all up. Yeah, those bags were hanging in our locker after we came back out. After we had showered and cleaned up, and our girlfriends were waiting outside for us. And the word was, go get Tate.
Well, and I can tell you this, Collin.
It happened more than once in the 4 years I was there.
I believe this.
We practiced after a game.
I saw a lot of Archie games.
You can't do that anymore.
And this is the thing. Yeah, they got rules against that now, Steve. But I think this. I think that Archie...
30 for 30 will do a special on that now, too.
Okay, what about you interrupted me incessantly? But, Collin, the big thing... the thing to me is this. I watch Coach Miller, and I think Coach Miller would probably agree with 90% of what we say. And I think that he's just trying to figure out how to flip that switch. And I think he will.
I mean, he's madder than.
Oh, I know.
He's infuriated on the sidelines. I mean, you can see it.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can see
he looks
it.
like his head's about to explode.
He is a very, very intense guy, and I think his switch is. I mean, his fuse is going off this week.
Yeah, and I expect this.
I think they're going to have a week that Steve's talking about.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to come out and they're going to beat Purdue at Purdue, which would be a huge win. Purdue's gotten a few nice wins since that Notre Dame loss. They got Carson Edwards, one of the best guards in the country, but they don't have a Joan Morgan underneath. So what I expect this team to do is come out and attack the basket, get the ball to Morgan, crash the boards, and beat Purdue. And then everybody's happy again, and we're not all freaking out. If that doesn't happen, then it's freak out time.
I'm being a little egotistical here, and it's just not me. No. Yeah, I know. I get it, guys. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm just passionate about what we're doing here. I don't do this I do it for fun, but I'm biting my bottom lip right now.
Yeah, because you played for a man that would not stand for this, but also
would not tolerate this in any way. Would have fixed it by now. We're 6 games into a 20-game Big Ten schedule, and we're not as good as we were in the first game of the Big Ten schedule.
Steve, most of the stuff that Bob Knight did to get you guys to flip that switch, you would be fired for now, though. That's the problem. You can't be a complete, whatever you want to call it, dictator, the way the world is today.
It wasn't a dictator. It was a learning opportunity.
Yeah, it's a dictator. You're told what to do. You do
society changes.
We'll see by doing what?
Society is different.
Yeah, and it's worse.
I'm not saying that. It's not. It's different for the worse. I agree.
If that's the case, then you better change your expectations of Indiana basketball, because if this is what you're going to get, then the products you're going to get on the floor is what you're going to end up with.
I don't think that's what you're going to get, because also you've got this.
Here. Go ahead. I'll finish my sentence whenever you're done.
It's still, you got juniors and seniors here that were here that weren't guys Archie selected. And I still think that this program, I know you talk up Coach Crean, but, he gets guys to the NBA, but he never developed toughness with this team. So what you had is you have guys that have been here 2 or 3 years without that attitude, and all of a sudden you bring Archie in. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm guessing Archie's much more intense than Coach Crean, and some guys just don't take to that.
Yeah. Here's, in my eyes, I wrote this down. The most scariest part of all this right now, looking at this basketball team, you will not have Morgan and Langford next year. Morgan's definitely gone. 95% that Langford's gone too. Look at what you've got left to work with to build on for next year.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty, fellas. You can't tell me you're going to bring in that many great freshmen that are going to change. They're going to replace Morgan and Langford.
Bring it out.
We're not Duke. We're not Duke. We don't spend money to buy players.
But I would hate to bring this up, but what's to be afraid of? Because right now we're not very good either.
Well, I know, but the only thing that's keeping us relevant right now is Morgan and Langford.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose them for sure. I mean, you're losing Morgan. He's a senior. He's gone no matter what. Yeah. Langford, most likely he's gone.
Oh, he's probably
now what
projected lottery, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
I know his projected lottery, he's gone.
Yeah. Looking at what he's looking at right now, I'd tell him to get the hell out of here.
What I'm looking at now, I would probably tell him to stay another year and lift some weights. But that's just me.
Well, NBA will put him on a program to do that. He'll do that all summer long. They'll have him bulked up by the time the NBA season comes around. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm getting real frustrated.
If this continues,
I'm not seeing any improvement.
You're 2 or 3 games away from Indiana as a projected 6th seed to Indiana as a projected 1 or 2 seed in the NIT.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's kind of the point where Collin was saying about they'll find that level of intensity. Well, by the time you find it in the 12th or 13th game of the Big Ten, you're now a bubble team at best. And we're in the same boat we were in last year.
This has to be switched
You've degraded yourself down to a bubble team.
I mean,
because
this
they
Purdue
haven't
game,
found it by the time they come into the Big Ten.
hey, the Purdue game, this Purdue game, you've got 5 days off. You got 5 days to get ready. This is the game where if anything is going to change for the better, it has to be now. Now, I hate to say that, a little over halfway through a season, you got to make or break game, but with the rest of the schedule, I think at Purdue and at Northwestern are games that they have to win. And it's not just win.
2 roadies.
Yeah, it's not just win the game. They're going to have to play with intensity to win those games because you're not going to go win on the road not playing intense. Not in the Big Ten.
Right.
So.
I mean, the poor shooting percentage is the direct result of only 2 guys trying to score. You got Juwan 8 for 15. Most of his points are still coming from inside. He hit 1 3-pointer. Langford 5 for 14. I mean, he's forcing shots now, just trying to score because nobody else is stepping up. His shot selection is getting a little worse. I thought tonight than it had been in the previous ones. He's 0 for 4 from the 3-point line because I think he's trying to force the 3-pointers and not smooth them like he's been doing. But he's getting double teamed. I mean, they're looking at why the hell do I want to guard Fitzner? What's he going to do?
Yeah.
I haven't seen McRoberts take a shot in 5 Big Ten games. Yeah, we got to be careful of him on defense because he'll steal the ball from you. He'll hustle. But offensively, don't even guard him. Just kind of have an eye on where he is so he didn't sneak behind you and get a bunny layup. That's all you got to worry about with guys like McRoberts. He's not an offensive threat. I think Finney's still a little bit in the fog. I mean, I think kid's not playing as good as I saw him play before his concussion yet. I think he's got better tonight, but I still think that he's still a little bit foggy to some degree. He may have cleared concussion protocol, but does anybody else notice that? He just doesn't seem like the same player to me.
It looks that way to me. I mean, he doesn't look as aggressive as what he did before, Collin.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. I mean,
So,
hopefully, hopefully it changes within the 5 days, but.
Right, you're forcing him back to play. You have to, because you've got to have his body.
You need him back. We have
right,
to.
that's what I mean. And so you're bringing him back earlier than he probably should be, but you have no freaking choice right now. This is meat cutting time in the Big Ten right now. You get yourself in a hole, and that list of 10 teams that are going to be invited to the Big Ten drops down to 8 or 7 real quick.
Yeah.
Then you've got these bubble teams, which Indiana falls into that from going into a top second-tier team to, Indiana's now a bubble team.
Yeah, and it's not like it
They
was 20 years ago where if I use a bubble team, they're getting in. It's not as cut and dry anymore with it.
No, it hasn't been that way in a long time.
No, not since the late 90s probably or early 2000s.
So from my culture and my perspective, this is the most critical week of the season for this basketball team right now.
Yep.
They have a week to play. They don't play again until Saturday, I guess, at Mackey. Is that right? Everybody's telling me.
Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure which day.
What is it, Collin? Here, I'll pull it up. I'll get the schedule up here real quick. Let me pull it up here real quick. They play Purdue Saturday, January 19th at 2 p.m.
Yeah, so you got
Fox
4 days
TV.
to prepare.
You got 4 days to learn intensity and learn aggressive basketball and learn how to play 40 minutes of basketball, not just 30 minutes, the last 30 minutes or the first 25 minutes. But this team has to learn to play 40 minutes of basketball. He's got to spend time teaching other people to be part of the offense. You cannot just go on and rely on Nick Roberts and Romeo to be your offense. We're getting too easy to guard. What I say?
It's going to be very easy as we're seeing we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Yeah, when we have one or two guys, if we have one or two guys score 18 to 30, who cares? If I was on our team, I would let that happen every day, every single night. But if we don't have 3, 4, 5 guys in double digits, we're not going to win very many games. Simple as that.
Yeah, that was the only chance anybody ever had to beat Indiana State was let Bird have his 50, just shut everybody else down. Now, fortunately, if Bird needed 70, he'd get you 70. He was just that good.
Indiana State
we don't have a Larry Bird on
good
this
players outside of Larry Bird.
No, they did, but the whole thing was don't shut Bird down. Forget about Bird. Give him his points.
Well,
let's get everybody else shut down.
Bird. We don't have Larry Bird.
Yeah. No, we don't. That's what
if we had Larry Bird, we'd have no problems right now.
Right. So I think this is a very critical week for this basketball team. We could easily be looking at being 4-6 or 4-7 real fast.
Well, even
and
worse,
then we get into the second half
12
of the season,
7,
and we know the second half of the season is more in our favor than the first half. But then we're just playing catch up, and then we're down in that lower tier where every game we play now becomes critical. We no longer have any margin of error, and we can't slip up at all.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put yourself in that position. Collin, you've seen that happen to you. How many times did it happen to you in your program? You're 5 years there. Where you put yourself in that hole where you're scraping and clawing just to get yourself into consideration to be a bubble team.
Many years.
Exactly.
3 out of the 5 at least. One we weren't even considered. 3 out of the 5.
Yeah, that's my point. And that's where they're headed right now.
It's a terrible spot to be in.
It's a terrible spot. I never was in that spot, so I don't know.
You dig yourself in a hole. You dig yourself in a hole, and then at the end of the day, it's up to a committee, a selection committee.
Yeah.
Right. And you're
whatever
people that remember
algorithms or whatever
people
people.
Indiana. Yeah. There are still people out there that hold grudges against Indiana because of Bob Knight.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope.
I wish the team well this
big week for the boys.
It's a big week for the boys, yeah. I mean, I'm not giving up on this basketball team yet, but I'm going to tell you what, the definitive insanity is the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's a cliche, the most oft-used one. I get it, but it applies here this week. They can't keep doing the same thing, expecting things to work for them. And Miller's got to communicate it somehow. I understand there are rules and regulations in place that Knight didn't have, and I don't know those rules and regulations, but I'm not afraid of the way Knight did things, because he toughened us up and taught us intensity and made us tough and not be afraid of anything. This team's afraid of things. It's afraid of taking shots. It's afraid of getting in a defensive position. It's afraid of challenging people going to the hole. It's afraid of crashing on an offensive rebound. There's a lot of things this basketball team's afraid of right now. And to me, Miller better communicate that to his team and find the way that's allowed in this culture, your culture, Collin, to do that, because it ain't happening right now.
Yes, Collin, this culture is all on you.
No, it's Collin's culture. I mean, it's my culture is my culture. His culture. I'm just telling you, it ain't happening right now, and it's got to be communicated. Whatever rules and regulations Coach Miller's got to live by. It's nut cutting time right now, boys.
All right, guys, it is nut cutting time, so we're going to get off the air now.
You mean you're going to cut me? I'm the nut. You're going to cut me?
No, it just whenever anybody says it's nut cutting time, it just makes me uncomfortable, and it's time to go. We'll be back.
Bad memories, Mike. Bad memories.
It just sounds bad.
Let me just say this again. One last thing. When I saw something like this happening, and I went in the game, and I got to go into the game and play. The first thing I did.
He's going to foul somebody really hard. Yeah,
I'm going to foul somebody really hard the minute I get in the game. I'm going to say, Risley is here. Be aware, Risley is here. I was going to let somebody know right away. There's some intensity just came into this game here right now. Get ready, boys. I may not score 30 points. I may not give 20 rebounds, but I'm going to be involved. And I'm going to make you pay for anything you try to do to my basketball team right now.
Yeah,
there
is nothing wrong with getting tossed from a game from time to time when it is necessary, Collin.
No.
Oh, I'm not saying that there is. I'm saying that might be a good thing right now.
Oh, yeah. I think what they ought to do is just have one of these guys, one of the bench guys that doesn't get to play, just walk in and just punch somebody. Get it fired up. Get it going.
Okay, so you watch Slap.
At least it'll be intense and
the Hanson brothers. Let's recruit the Hanson brothers.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Hey. Have 3 guys come on the bench with the big goggles, glasses.
Yeah, foil up. You gotta have foil on the knuckles to get rebounds. But guys, Saturday we will be here after the Indiana-Purdue game, so make sure you check us out on thegruelingtruth.net live. If you can't join us directly after, you can always find us on thegruelingtruth.net, or you can find us anywhere you can find sports podcast. I want to remind people, college basketball show tomorrow on Survive and Advance College Basketball will be our main topic, as we have Brian Rolfe from Fansided and BustingBrackets.com on to talk a little college basketball. And I'm sure we'll be talking a little bit of Indiana basketball after tonight. Remember, you can hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So,
hey, Mike,
I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I just sit here and I'm like,
Mike, I just want to say,
Mike never fails.
Mike,
I just want to say, great job closing out tonight. That's all.
It would have been. It would have been. But you know what? Just like in the games, you had to interject yourself and foul me. So, you're out of the game. And for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.
Boom.